bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
And a good morning, Delaware Valley, a.k.a. Eagles fans. And I know we've got a lot of Eagle fans here on Birds 365, but that means we probably have a lot of Philly fans as well. Yeah, I went to red, Johnny Mac. Even though when I went to bed last night, I was disappointed, I was dejected, I was depressed, I was ticked off. I got up this morning, I wasn't near as bad. A good night's sleep will do that for you. So I said, let me put on the Philly red. They had a damn good season. Very, very, very disappointing ending, but it was a good season just the same. And let me say this one thing, and I give credit to our fans here that stream into the show. In comparison to Twitter, our streamers are members of the Mensa Society. They are well above Twitter people. The blaming of Rob Thompson last night on my feed just made me nuts.
Yeah, I can't watch games with Twitter any longer. I mean, it's it's so overreact. It's like we talk about overreaction Mondays in NFL. It's like it's overreaction every minute of every game. And the NFL, I'm used to it. I say Philadelphia fans have a football mentality. Not everybody, but I'm because there's a lot of people who probably avoid Twitter or X or whatever.
Smart people, unlike yours truly,
like me. Yeah, I did avoid it after I said. And every moment's like, oh, it's over. Oh, this is, and when something good happens, it's the greatest thing in the history of the world. And especially with baseball, which is such a nuanced sport. It's and you have to have patience, and you got to grind things out. And after that seventh inning, when I had a little bit of a chance, it was over. And in hindsight, it was over. But you got plenty of time at that point. You don't just give up. You're the better team. You hope to persevere. In that ballpark, especially, you need a blue pit and a blast with 97 home run hitters. Anything can happen at any point, and you got to keep fighting through it. But they weren't able to do it, and the disappointment, I think, is valid because they were the better team, and they were at home, and they had the big home field advantage, and it's disappointing. I get it.
The other team was better for two straight games, plain and simple. And even though they might not have had as talented a roster, Phillies had to win one of those two games. They did not. But just a note to Coach Sirianni, they will turn on a coach so friggin' fast, it's unbelievable. Let me get this straight. Nick Castellanos, who killed it in the Braves series, was a man among boys in the Braves series, hit a leadoff homer in game number 1 of this Arizona series, and proceeded to go 0 for 23. Did not get a hit again and struck out double-digit times. What is Rob Thompson supposed to do to stop that? What can the manager possibly do when one of his $20 million players goes into a week-long funk? There's nothing you do about that. Turner and Harper, and I know they pitched specifically to Harper to not give him anything, and he hit some long fly balls last night, just didn't get him out of the park. Two key guys went in the tank during the final 5 games of the series. How is that the manager's fault?
It's always about the players, but we talk in football. We talk about play calling. I said, nobody realizes you don't know what the play call is. You don't know what they're trying to do, and people judge play calling. I already got a fired Brian Johnson Twitter going. Somebody's up there that grabbed that. I mean, yeah. They blame coaches. They blame. It's always about the players first, and yeah. If they don't perform, you're in trouble. Your job as and coaching's more important in football, I think, than any other sport. But your job is to get a little bit more out of a particular player than maybe help them along, help them reach their best self, so to speak. And but yeah, generally it's always about the players. Look at the Super Bowl. Look at Jonathan Gannon went from he had 10 seconds of being accepted when he drove up to that fan before the NFC Championship game, rolled down his window and said, let's effing gut him. And they did gut him. And then, the secondary couldn't communicate in the Super Bowl, and he's the worst, he's a despot. So that's just the way it is. And Nick knows that, believe me, he knows. Coaching quarterback. By the way, coaching quarterback get too much credit when things go well, but they get way too much blame when things go poorly.
Agreed. And they don't have that dynamic in baseball. There's no one individual player. Like Harper is not getting all that much grief, and he is the star of the team. And he didn't come up big in these last several games. I specifically point to Castellanos because he was not only bad, he was that bad. But again, a guy chimes in here on the field. Why didn't he pinch hit for Rojas with the bases loaded in the 4th inning? They were winning. They were up 2-1 at the time. They specifically asked Thompson after the game. And he said, well, if I had done it there, I would have had to use 2 players because they got a lefty ready to come in. If I put a lefty up for Rojas, they're going to bring the lefty in. So they got to pull the lefty and let JAKIB never get it at bat and put in a right-hander. So do all that in the 4th inning of a game you're winning. Like you said, baseball is a nuanced game. Yeah. And people just look right past the nuances and go, how do you let Rojas hit with the bases loaded? Oh, you knew the Phillies weren't going to score another run from that. With that lineup, you knew they were going to get shut out for the rest of the game. Come on.
Yeah, you don't pinch hit in the 4th inning, especially when you're winning. Now, there's a little bit difference in a Game 7. You're very immediate. You see it all the time with starting pitchers, and you saw it yesterday come in. It's all hands on deck. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, you don't pinch hit in the 4th inning when you're winning. Yeah, that's not how it works.
Yeah. All right, Johnny Mac, here's one thing I want to get in our first segment. Got 2 good guests today. Mike Gill in his usual Wednesday spot from the Sports Bash down the shore, ESPN 97.3, and Chris Franklin, our guy from NJ.com, will be here with us in hour number 2. Kevin Byard officially announced as a Philadelphia Eagle. The defense coordinator talked about him yesterday and how he's going to fit, and the fact that they needed to do this probably more than they would have liked. Fit guys into the back end of the defense because of injury, because of guys not being good enough, and a key acquisition like Kevin Byard. But so far, they've done a pretty damn good job of getting guys up to speed and ready to go in the secondary. So I want to get your take on what Desai said there. But I got to ask you about this first. You mentioned yesterday, what the hell is Rand Carthon thinking? What does Howie Roseman do to these guys? Does he have pictures of other executives around the league that he makes deals that just don't look right on? You go, wait, they got him for that? Howie seems to do it each and every single year. And you correctly pointed out the Titans general manager didn't get enough for a Pro Bowl level player. I question the other teams around the league. Not just the
it's manager. More than just Rand Carthon. Right. I agree with you there.
How he picks the individual team's general manager's pocket, but where are the other teams around the league? So I thought, all right, who else could have upgraded by getting a safety, the level of Kevin Byard, who we think of as one of the best safeties in the National Football League? Who could have gotten better? Who could have matched and or slightly topped the Eagles' offer that they gave up for him? And one team specifically came to mind for me, and that would be the Dallas Cowboys. Because you're achieving two things. Number one, you're upgrading your own roster, which, oh, by the way, you need to do with the safety play that you've gotten so far this year. And number two, you keep the Eagles from getting him. The best executives in football not only know what's going on with their team, but what's going on with teams that they're competing with. And you could come up with a pretty easy conclusion that, yeah, the Eagles might be looking to upgrade safety. They've got issues. They were a little short to begin with. Blankenship got hurt. Yeah, this could be a week that Howie pounces. And the Dallas Cowboys are just sitting down there in Dallas going, yeah, we're all right. We're good. Really? With the safety play that you've been getting, you're good. And the owner / general manager of the Dallas Cowboys yesterday went on Dallas radio and said, if we're going to do any trading leading up to the trade deadline, it's probably going to have to start somewhere else. That we're pretty darn good with our personnel the way that we are. Am I misreading the standings here, John? Are the Cowboys 6-0? Are the Cowboys 7-0?
No.
Or are the Cowboys 4-2? And Jerry's perfectly fine with the personnel that the Cowboys have. He doesn't have to make any calls.
For all his reputation, he doesn't make a lot of trades. Well, who's ever in charge? Sometimes he is. Sometimes Steven is. So it's
when it goes right, Jerry's in charge.
Yeah,
when it goes badly, then it's on Steven.
Exactly. So it's a wacky setup to begin with. Yeah, I mean everybody, including the Eagles and Chiefs, and the Eagles already proved it, could use an upgrade. And the Chiefs traded for McCole Hardman back, so they're looking to improve too. So everybody can use an improvement. For that specific instance, I mean, Dallas has pretty good safeties. I don't know if that's a position where they would want to be.
I'm sorry, I don't have my phone with me. It's overcharging. My bad. I specifically reached out to our guy, Brad Spielberger, yesterday from Pro Football Focus. And I asked him, what were the ratings? What were the rankings of the Dallas safeties so far this year? They stink.
Yeah, they haven't played up to their reputation, but I don't think they're bad players. And they have three really, because they're one of those teams that use more of a sort of three safety. A lot of teams are going that way, by the way. Instead of that second linebacker, and they're one of them who do it a lot. So it's Hooker, it's Wilson, it's Curse. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and Brad, they haven't played up to their reputation, but I don't think they're bad players, and I still think.
Do you think Terrell Edmonds is a bad player?
No, I don't think.
Okay,
I think
so why if you're not going to make a trade for a player because you've got players that haven't played up to their reputation, why would the Eagles trade for Kevin Byard?
Well, because the Eagles are very honest with themselves. And the
Dallas Cowboys aren't honest with themselves.
Well, a lot of teams aren't. Cowboys probably are more. I would say very few teams meet the Eagles bar when it comes to being honest with themselves. But I would say one of the things, and I use PFF all the time, and I like PFF, and I'm not one of those haters, but I do tell you all the time, I recognize the deficiencies of them. I know what they are. And for instance, Byard's I think it was 36th. I think I looked at it yesterday. And I have to look up Edmonds. Byard's asked to do a lot more. In his where he is, and they don't take into account things like that. Like Slay and Bradbury don't have great ratings right now. Doesn't mean they're not great corners.
Would you agree with me that neither has played as well this year as they have last year?
Yes, I would agree with that.
So
But it's the same thing. It's sort of like the same thing when I'm talking about the Cowboys safeties and the Eagles corners, the Eagles outside corners. Sort of like the same thing. If you look at Slay's uh, grade, you'd say, well, he's not very good right now. If you watch the games, you say, well, he's a lot better than some of these corners that are ahead of him. There's a lot more put on his plate. So there's some issues with those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, if you want to say that, if you want to be strict and say they're not playing up to their reputations and they should have won out and get Kevin Byard, well, then, you should probably say, well, the Eagles should go get Patrick Surtain or somebody else because Slay and Bradbury aren't playing up to their expectations. I would say the same thing.
Right.
I'm not looking for an upgrade at outside corner from the Eagles. I'm looking for an upgrade at safety. If I'm the Cowboys, they got a lot of issues. I wouldn't be looking for an upgraded safety, though. That's all I'm trying to say.
I would suggest that their safeties have played as badly as anybody on their team at any position. Where else would the Cowboys look at upgrade more than safety?
Boy, I don't. They got a good team. If that's their worst problem, yeah, we're gonna agree to disagree there. Yeah, I think their safeties are good. And they're not. They're a good team. They have a good roster. I've been saying that since early in the preseason. I know Eagles fans don't like that, but they are a talented team. But yeah, they got issues like everybody else. I mean, I heard a Zach Ertz rumor with Dallas because they're not used. They lost Dalton Schultz. They're used to having more of an impactful player at tight end. That would be one. Their receivers. Michael Gallup, hasn't really been the same guy since coming back from the ACL, and and Brandon Cooks has been They still don't have that real complement to CD Lamb. And defensively, they have a good front. But anytime you lose a player like Trayvon Diggs, that's an issue. I don't know how much Bland is going to hold up. Or that's a perfect example for the Cowboys. Like Deron Bland, according to PFF, is better than Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Well, no, he isn't. He isn't. But he is in this small sample size right here for this time and what they ask him to do. And he's done a nice job, and he deserves credit and accolades, and you tip your hat. That's what I say. You got to be honest with yourself. Like, one of the things about the Byard deal, how many teams in this league, Jody, would give up 244 yards to the Miami Dolphins and 10 points to the Miami Dolphins, and then the next day trade for an all-pro? They go, hey, you know what? Sidney Brown is holding up. Eli Ricks is holding up. We don't need to do it. That's what most teams would do. Eagles are like, you know what? That's about Jalen Carter and Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick and on and on and on. And they're very honest with themselves. A lot of teams aren't.
Thanks for making my point for me, John. The Dallas Cowboys, as per their owner, not some executive, not some scout, not some assistant coach. The owner says, yeah, if we're going to be making trades leading up to trade, it's going to have to start on the other side. Somebody's going to have to call us. We're good with our personnel. That's the reason that the Cowboys are in second place, and that's the reason that the Eagles are in first place. Because as you just pointed out, Eagles aren't satisfied. If they can upgrade their roster, they upgrade their roster. Even in the face of having one of the best defensive efforts by any team all year, shutting down the Miami Dolphins. They realize we can upgrade our safety position for a nominal cost at most. Why wouldn't we do that? because that's the way Howie Roseman and the Eagles do business. That's why they're as good as they are. And the Dallas Cowboys come off as a pompous squad with an owner who's been trying to make football moves for decades, and he's made one. He hired Jimmy Johnson. That's it. Other than that, his football moves have been questionable, and he's standing by his choices and the talent that they have right now, which is second-place talent to the Eagles in the NFC East. All right, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. Maga Mac Birds 365. Two goodies today. We got Mike Gill from down the shore joining us coming up in just a couple of minutes, and then we'll get Chris Franklin from NJ.com in hour number 2. So stay right here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Maga Mac guys here on Birds 365. Hoping to hear from Mike Gill. He should be checking in any minute from down the shore.
Yeah, I just texted him. He might be taking that Phillies loss hard.
He's out walking the beach in one of his college T-shirts, freezing his little tuchus off. I don't know. When Gill jumps on, we'll punch him up. I did get my phone off the charger. Sorry for not having that earlier. Like I said, I reached out to Spielberger yesterday at PFF. 3 Cowboys safeties of 92. There are 92 safeties who have played 100 or more snaps in the NFL through the first 6 weeks of the year. Malik Hooker, 34th out of 92. Javon Curse, 81st out of 92. Donovan Wilson, 87th out of 92. That's not good, John. That's flat out bad. They got 2 guys in the 80s out of 92. They couldn't use an upgraded safety. Yeah, they could.
Again, you got to understand what those things are. And I bring up Bland. You know, Bland is 13th of 115. Darius Slay is 69th of 115. Now, if you were to pretend rules didn't exist and said, hey, Cowboys, you could have Darius Slay instead of Deron Bland, trust me, 100% they're taking Darius Slay. 150%. I'm making up numbers now.
All right, but let me turn it on you. If you give the Dallas Cowboys that same choice, you can have Kevin Byard or any of the three mentioned safeties. Would you not take Byard over all of them?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
But again,
so was it the outrageous cost that the Eagles paid to get him?
No, it's just you're not looking. You're not looking for an upgrade at a position you don't think you need an upgrade. Like the Eagles aren't looking for an upgrade at defensive tackle. They don't think they need an upgrade. They're not looking for an upgrade at certain positions. The Cowboys probably feel that way about their safeties, even though they haven't played up to their reputation yet.
And I say that's the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles aggressively look to upgrade their roster. The Cowboys, according to their owners, sit on their laurels and are perfectly fine with personnel that have safeties that are ranked in the 30s, the 80s, and the 80s out of 92 in the NFL.
With your overriding point, I agree with. The Cowboys generally don't do much, despite Jerry Jones's reputation historically on the trade market. Well, most NFL teams don't do much, to be honest. It's changing a little bit, usually with younger GMs that Howie has to take advantage of. But I agree with your overriding thought. I just don't agree with the position and player. Like a bunch of other positions, they should be looking to upgrade. I just don't agree with the position and player. I think they would be looking in a different direction. And the fact that they aren't looking in different directions, because every team, including the Chiefs and the Eagles, can always improve. That part I agree with. I just don't think at that position they would be looking for an upgrade. That's how I look at that.
Maybe I'm putting more emphasis on Pro Football Focus. Either you accept that they do what they do or you don't. I think it's, and I'm guilty as charged. Sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I disagree with them. Either you give them their props as being able to put an accurate rating on how a guy is playing, or you don't. Yeah, I think that safety is the way that they played the first 6 games of the year. I would say that's as weak a position as they have on their team. So I would be shocked. And I'm not talking about just the Cowboys. Do you think a better player at a different position that the Cowboys may have I'll
turn it on the Eagles. Do you think the Eagles need an upgrade at outside corner?
No.
But
why would I think that?
Well, because Slay and Bradbury haven't played up to their reputation.
Slay and Bradbury are Slay and Bradbury, and the Cowboys safeties are Malik Hooker, Javon Kearse, and Donovan Wilson. I think I can't compare those two positional groups. Why would the Eagles need to upgrade 2 guys who have both made? Did I miss Malik Hooker, Javon Kearse's, or Donovan Wilson's Pro Bowl year?
No, granted they're bigger reputations, but the same holds true. You're still defaulting to reputation with one and not defaulting with reputation with the other. They've had
what are the reputations of the Dallas safeties?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not to the level of Slay and Bradbury, but you didn't come into this season. Most people didn't come into this season saying, "Oh, the Cowboys need an upgrade at safety." Because they've been competent players and generally above average. And Malik Hooker's really talented, but he's had a lot of injury issues over the years. That's what I'm saying. Look, PFF does a good job. I say it all the time, but you have to know what it is. You have to know what it is. Like I'm going to sit at you like Bland has a great PFF rating. I'm not going to tell you he's a great corner because he's not a great corner. Trayvon Diggs is a great corner. And sometimes because he takes some chances and they knock that down more, it's like a home run hitter. I've always compared him to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. for Eagles fans. Didn't have a good PFF rating last year. Now, Eagles fans watch those games. Who was more freaking impactful, C.J. Gardner-Johnson or Marcus Epps, or even Reed Blankenship, who has a good PFF ranking? Who's a better player? I love Reed. CJ's a better player when he's healthy, and obviously he's not healthy. Now he's a pain in the you-know-what, but he's a better player. He's the home run hitter. It's like I say that to use the baseball we're using. I said it with Ryan Howard. When you look back to the Phillies World Series team, was Chase Utley a better player overall? Yes. Was he more impactful? No flipping way. No way. When you got that big guy in the middle, freaking 3-run home run, that's important. And I always go Roberto Alomar, 5-tool player. Hey, that's great. Give me the guy who's going to bash 48 home runs and 130 RBI, even though nobody cares about RBIs now. Give me that guy. That's what CJ was last year for the Eagles defense. That's what Trayvon Diggs is for the Dallas defense. Those guys tend not to have good PFF rankings. There are issues with those rankings. What they do generally tell you is if they say if somebody's playing well, like Deron Bland, he's probably playing well. Is he going to hold up? Probably not.
Right. And you don't watch every single snap the Cowboys play. I don't watch every single day. PFF does look at every single snap the Cowboys play. So they've got more observational opportunities than we do. I'm sorry. I'm just not excited by Malik Hooker, Javon Kearse, or Donovan Wilson. If you think that they've had outstanding careers, they're playing badly now. If you think they've had outstanding careers up until this point, then you have a higher opinion of them than I do. I just don't.
Well, clearly,
I think Terrell Edmonds is as good as any of those players, and the Eagles shipped them plus picks in exchange for Kevin Byard. So the Eagles wisely, aggressively look to get that home run hitter that you're describing. The Cowboys are playing with guys who I think are
all right.
Donovan are right now striking out every other time up.
Donovan Wilson was 29th last year, 29th of 88, 18th of 94. That's Donovan Wilson. Malik Hooker, for people that don't know about Malik Hooker, he was a first-round pick, 16th of 93 in 2018. Injuries cropped up. By the time he got back, 2019, he was 42nd of 83. 2020 wasn't ranked because he was, basically 2 years coming back. 2021, he was 28th of 92. Last season, he was 13th of 88. I mean, these are not bad players, Jody. Are they Kevin Byard? No. Who's a 2-time All-Pro. But these have been good players throughout their careers. So, yeah, you and I just disagree. They're better players than you're giving them credit for. And the assumption is that they're going to get back to where they were in the past. If they don't, they don't. And that's the hard thing about the NFL, because guys move up and down and it's not a stasis. And maybe they have nothing left. And maybe you'll end up being right. But they've been good players. That we just disagree on. I mean, they have been good players.
What was Edmonds last year? Was he that much further behind any of those Cowboy players that you just rattled off?
Yeah, he's never been at that level, but I'll double check. I'll look at he's at Tennessee now. And I haven't, while I'm doing this, I'm also trying to get Mike. He says 2 minutes, having an internet issue. So hopefully we get Mike Gill up. I'm looking for Terrell Edmonds as we speak. Can't find him. I don't know if they've here we go. Terrell's 61 of 84.
All right, so he was behind both of those, all three of those Cowboy guys.
He was 70th of 92 in 2021. He had a good year in 2020. He was 22 of 94. 2019, 55 of 83. As a rookie, he was 65 of 93.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's He's an NFL player, Terrell Edmonds. I mean, he's not a bad player.
Right. And I think the Cowboys have 3 NFL players at safety. I'd rather get the Ryan Howard home run hitter and Kevin Byard if I'm the Dallas Cowboys. But you didn't have to sweat that, Eagles, because Jerry loves his personnel, so he's not going to be making any calls this week. If you want to give something to the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry expects you to call him rather than him to call you.
Well, the good thing about the Cowboys as the Eagles is they got to play each other twice, so you'll know everything. You'll know everything about the Cowboys and Eagles and where they are against each other.
And we're only about 11 days from that first matchup. We got to get through the Commanders first, and we got to get to Mike Gill, who comes our way from down the shore. Are you going to blame Rob Thompson for your internet issues? Because a lot of Phillies Twitter is blaming the Phillies manager for last night's loss when Nick Castellanos went 0 for his last 7 games after hitting a leadoff home run in this series against the D-backs.
Yeah, they had a lot of money wrapped up into, what was it, 1 for 28 over the last couple. I mean, top of the order, big money guys didn't come through. It's funny, though, because I was in text chains last night, and I guess something's going on with the internet. I wasn't getting the text messages. I couldn't send them out. They weren't coming in. And I was like, my friends are awful quiet on this one all of a sudden. Well, I'm realizing something's going on with the network, I guess. But that's got to be up there with one of the most disappointing losses of epic meltdown. Epic.
Yeah. Well, it's an 84-win team, so it's, always disappointing. And all you need is one
they
win at home.
They won 90, John. Let's not shortchange them.
No, the Diamondbacks.
Oh, the
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks. I thought you meant the Phillies.
Yeah.
No, they won. Diamondbacks are almost a 500 team in the regular season. Yeah, and you get a run. You could argue baseball. I hear a lot of people arguing, "Oh, Fox doesn't want Arizona and Texas." Well, obviously, but that's not a reason you lost. I mean, what do there's a football mentality in Philadelphia, and baseball. I was telling Jody knows it's a nuanced game, and everybody's like, "Oh, everything's a disaster, every pitch," and you got to be a little bit more patient. And I also say the modern game, and this, you coach baseball at a lower level, but they create these types of hitters because they don't value small ball. And when you need, and it doesn't matter until you need it, they don't want station to station baseball because the analytics say that you're more likely to hit a 3-run home run than get single. It's part of it. So you're going to have these lulls in offense.
The amount of texts I get about bunting, why don't they bunt? You got to bunt here. I got to the point where that way. Yeah. I just, what am I going to do? I mean, I can only tell you 950 million times. And then, of course, last night in Game 7, they try to bunt. They can't bunt. They don't know how to bunt. But
why would you know how to bunt? Yeah, why would you?
Would be interesting is if the Phillies would have been able to get to the World Series in Game 7, that would have backed them right up to the Cowboys game because that would have been on Saturday night and the Cowboys game would have been on Sunday. That would have been a pretty – and by the way, in Texas, because the Phillies would have been in Fort Worth, that would have been an interesting scene to see if the Philly fans would have gone to Game 7. And I think that game is at Dallas. Is it not, John?
The first one's here.
Okay. The first one's here. So that would have been interesting if they could have separated their time to Fort Worth and Philly against.
Yeah, that way. Yeah. Well, we had that last year with Houston in the World Series. We were down.
Right, but a little different playing the Texans than playing the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Oh, the Eagles don't play the Texans. They don't play the Cowboys for 12 days. They play the Commanders come Sunday with Kevin Byard at safety. I think just an outstanding addition by Howie Roseman. Got him for an under market value price, it seems to me. And we had Turin Davenport on yesterday, who covers the Titans, knows Byard well. Desai spoke yesterday, said, this guy's smart as all get out. We're just going to plug him in and he'll be fine. You buying? I think over the long run, Byard's going to be great. You think he's going to be like his usual Pro Bowl level self week 1 coming in here, or does you got to give the guy at least some transitional time.
I mean, maybe not be in week one will he come in and be, but even what he is in week one's got to be an upgrade of what you had. I mean, Terrell Edmonds didn't offer much. I mean, nice guy, seemed like a good dude. Saw the video of him at Citizens Bank Park with DeAndre Swift watching the baseball game. I'll take Kevin Byard off the street over what Terrell Edmonds was giving me there. And look, Edmonds wasn't awful, but I think you certainly get a huge tick. And I talked about this on Monday when they made the trade. You know, just for the people out there like thinking, all right, well, what do you get? To me, and maybe you guys disagree, he's a significant upgrade over what you had last year. You had two pretty good players there last year who made some money. Maybe not on Sunday, Jody, but long run by the end of the season, you've got a better player at that position than what you had at that spot last year. And him and Blankenship together, I think you have a better tandem than you had a year ago.
Yeah, potentially. Reed has played very well. You know, one of the things about Kevin Byard, you can use Reed as an example. Guy's never missed a stinking game. Now, Reed has played very, very well. We're 7 games in. He's missed 2 games. This guy's played 8 seasons, never missed a game. So durability's there, versatility. He can play in the slot. He can play either safety position. And the Eagles system, it's interchangeable anyway. Yeah, it's a perfect fit. I'm more, and Jody said under market value. No, they got him at market value. That's where Howie takes advantage of these morons because they don't value. Oh, he's 30. Oh, he's 30. I can't pay a 2-time All-Pro. I can't give up a day 3 pick for a 2-time All-Pro because he's 30. That's where he takes advantage of these morons who are always looking at door number 3. Yeah. That's how I describe the vast majority of young GMs in this league. The unknown is always better than the proven, and that makes no sense to me, Mike.
Yeah, and if you watch what we opened up with, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure the Tennessee Titans maybe in that room are having a conversation saying, we're not good enough to win right now with a 30-year-old safety. Let's see what we can get and just start over. They're not looking at the 84-win Arizona Diamondbacks and saying, hey, that could be us. Yeah. We have some players here. Yeah. Let's just, do a couple things. Yeah, they're looking at the big picture, though. And look, Howie is able to make a move. Like I talked about this with John. I said, does anybody else call? Like, did anybody else call them? Or is Roseman the only guy saying, you know what, let me pick up the phone and just make a call? Well, he had picks coming in because of what they lost in free agency last year that he knows is coming in right now. You lose Javon Hargrave. All right, I'm going to get a compensatory pick. I lose Isaac Seumalo. I'm going to get a compensatory pick. They're going to get a bunch of picks to restock what they just gave up to get him. So if somebody called Tennessee and said, hey, I'll give you a 5th, and that's it, or I'll give you a 6th, he could say, well, I'll give you a 5th and a 6th because I know I'm getting that on the back end coming back because of what the Eagles lost last year. So I thought it was a smart trade. What they gave up, obviously, not a big deal. We're not going to look back and say, man, they gave up a 5th and a 6th for this. Now, last year they gave up a 4th to get Robert Quinn. That blew up in your face.
Did it really blow up in your face? I mean,
okay. No, that's a fair retort. It didn't blow up in your face. You didn't get what you were hoping.
Took a shot. You didn't get what you wanted.
Was it an L? It's an L. You got to take an L. Howie's got to take an L there. Not a death-defining L, but an L is an L is an L. He took an L on that one.
But I think it's a perfect example.
We're tied with 10 seconds to go. So you're right. John's correction of you were right. It wasn't a
but my only point to that is, yes, it didn't work out. It didn't work out and technically in the small ecosystem, is that trade a winner or a loss? Well, that's a loss.
Yeah.
No question about it. But it doesn't matter. And that's what I'm saying. That's why it's worth the gamble. It didn't, they still made the Super Bowl. Now, it would have been nice if Robert Quinn was a good player and could make a play in the Super Bowl and get him over the top.
Yep.
Didn't work out. But, I mean, that's not realistic. So, they got him to be a 15-play a game player, and he didn't even give him that. So on the I guess in the micro sense, it's a loss, but the macro sense, it doesn't matter. And it exemplifies why you take chances. Because even if this doesn't work out to where you think it's going to work out, it's not going to matter that much. You're going to be slightly better than Terrell Edmonds. That's worst case scenario.
You would think worst case scenario is you have a guy who's on the field almost every snap. Last year, you made a trade for a guy who essentially was a nothing burger for you. So, yeah, you take the shot and you now look, John, you keep mentioning, and you said this yesterday, and the first thing that goes to my head is, well, the guy's always on the field. He's durable. He takes every snap. Well, he's 30 years old. When does he not take that snap? When does he, when does the injury?
Well, he might come in here, Zach Ertz, 100% injury rate. He might come in here week 1 and get hurt, but I can't control that stuff.
Right. Oh, listen, that was the biggest fear of this season for me. It wasn't how talented they were. It was they made it through last year without any injury issues at all. I mean, you had one here, a guy there, this guy, but you're missing. They played a game the other night. Everybody talk about the Dolphins. Oh, the Dolphins had 2 guys out, this guy out. The Eagles played a game with their 2 safeties out, their corner out. Their right guard, they're on their 3rd right guard at this point. I mean, they're not, the slot, they're on like their 3rd or 4th slot corner at this point. They're on their 2nd right guard. So they're dealing with a lot of injuries too, which was the biggest worry. Now, are they done that? Are they getting past that? Are they 6-1 and they've gotten through the injury bug, or there's still more to come? That's, to me, a big storyline as they get ready to go through the gauntlet of the schedule.
We get a lot of San Francisco people, and they're complaining about not having Trent Williams and who else? Debo
for a while.
Yeah, and they probably win the game on Monday night, no question. But everybody's got injuries. The other side doesn't. I love how fan bases, because you brought up Miami, people made a lot of, we don't have 2 offensive line. And by the way, Isaiah Wynn's going to block Jalen Carter anyway because he got hurt on the 5th play. That's not going to affect things. Everybody's got injuries. The Eagles are on their 97th slot cornerback, last I checked.
Yeah.
You either persevere or you don't.
And they haven't had the same, by the way, with the Byard thing, to bring it back, they haven't had the same 2 safeties play next to each other seemingly any week all season. It seems like there's somebody, Justin Evans, Terrell Edmonds, Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship. I mean, who else has played taking snaps back there?
Yeah, Kayvon got cut in Arizona. He might be back.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask, thank you for bringing up Kayvon, Eagle juggling the roster.
Yeah.
Mario Goodrich get cut because he wears number 31 and they had to give that to Kevin Byard?
He's cut before. Come on.
Yeah, he's been who was the old offensive lineman that was on and off the rosters with the V?
Julian Vandervelde.
Yeah, he's the new Julian Vandervelde. You just keep bringing him in and out. Yeah, I did see, I guess that was Andrew DeCecco last night that tweeted that out, something about Kayvon Wallace. And I think everybody was watching the game that he was playing against the Cowboys. First off, you were like, he's on Arizona. He's actually playing for Arizona, and he's actually playing well for Arizona. And then they cut him. It was like, wait a second. What did he do in the last couple of weeks to deserve to get cut after he was playing 80% of the snaps out there?
Well, Buddha came back and made that part of it. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the situation. But that certainly Buddha's going to play.
Right. And you would think he would be a guy who knows the defense right off the bat and could come in and at least provide.
Yeah, he's a solid special teams player.
There you go.
And that's why the Eagles lost, by the way, Brett Toth to Carolina, signed him off the practice squad. So they have an open spot. So it makes sense to potentially bring Kayvon back. But I'm sure he's got to clear waivers, and I'm sure, who knows? It's always got to be a 2-way street, but I'm sure the Eagles would want him back.
You think he's going to get claimed, John?
No, probably not. Probably not. But he got claimed once. You never know.
He got claimed by his ex-defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz. Did Schwartz and Kayvon have an overlap here? Could Schwartzy take him for Cleveland?
Hey, you never know, man. Cleveland, showed some signs of weakening on defense against the great
Yeah,
Gardner
true.
Minshew. Yeah.
Gave up a 30 spot. Didn't see that one coming. This is for John and or Mike B. You guys know. Any update on Reed Blankenship? We saw the injury against the Jets. What I continue to claim as a clean block. I get it. It's against the rules. It's a stupid rule the NFL has in
By
place.
the way, he got fined. Alan Lazard got fined on top of it. 16 grand. So that tells you they got it right. Mike and I talk about that all the time. Fans don't like the legislation, but they blame the officials. And yeah, officials blow calls all the time. I'm not saying they don't, but by and large, they don't like the rule. Which
right.
I don't like the rule.
I'm on
either.
record right here, right now, saying I think that rule is.
Oh, I agree with you, Jody, that I think the rule on that, and not to mention they got flagged for a roughing the passer. That was egregious. It was awful. I mean, that's the problem. The fans don't want that to be, even if it helps your team out. No fan wants that call to be.
Well, I think they like it when it helps their team.
But I'm saying, like in the big picture, I would say that helps your team win the game. Eagle fans, that happened.
But all I'm saying is, when you get that fine, that is validation from the NFL that they're saying the official made the correct call when that fine comes down.
Understood. It's a dumb rule. And I get the overly cautious, protect the quarterback. They're the golden childs. We got to bend over backwards to take care of them. And I like Reed Blankenship as much as anybody else, but safeties don't get that kind of, oh my God, it was an unfair hit on a safety. Come on. Safeties are supposed to be tough. They're supposed to be able to take it. The guy caught Reed right in the ribs, and that's why he's out. But that's just a flat-out dumb rule. I'm sorry. Just because you're heading 2 steps in the wrong direction, you're coming back upfield, that makes it an illegal play and a finable play on top of it. Come on, NFL. Get your head out of your ass.
Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to safety in this league. And it's all for liability purposes. That's all it is. But as more people push to say, oh, the game's too violent, that's why they have to do this stuff. So I get why the NFL has to do it, and they have to pay this lip service to the safety of the game instead of, I wish we could all admit, you know what? It's a violent game. And if you don't want to play it, don't play it. But if you want to play it, there's some dangers to it.
I think the Kelsey documentary, I mean, just listening to him talk about like his body and what but he also is very understanding of like you have the opportunity and the choice to make there, and you're trying to make rules to make the game less violent. That just doesn't make any sense. You could say, hey, you don't have to play our game. You don't have to, but we can't put in rules to compromise the level of competition. That is now becoming where the guy can't put a block on because he might hurt the guy who might tackle.
Mike, I've been covering this league for 1,000 years, it seems now, and I don't know what a hip drop tackle is, and nobody can explain it to me. And they're talking about banning that, and I don't even know what it is.
Well, it's funny. It's like, when you first heard the term sports hernia, you're like, what the hell is that? And then all of a sudden, everybody had a sports hernia. Now, I've never heard the term hip tackle drop ever. Tackle. And all of a sudden, they want to ban a tackle that no one's ever heard of before.
Yeah. We're going to flag football. They're putting flag football in the Olympics. I'm telling you. I laughed about it years ago. I would make jokes about it. Now I literally believe we're going to flag football eventually.
I wouldn't be surprised if the quarterback had a flag and the other players, they just had flags on quarterbacks and you didn't tackle and hit him. You just.
Then we're going to go back to the days of the pocket passer. If you do that, that's going to limit the effectiveness of extending plays. And, because it's tough to tackle the Jalen Hurtses of the world. But if you just got to pull a flag off, plays over, that's going to help the defense. They don't like to help the defense.
That's a good point, John.
Yeah, everybody in the league is playing defense. Nobody can score.
Yeah.
Commanders coming up on Sunday. Eagles could very well have lost to the Commanders earlier this season. If Riverboat Ron was actually a riverboat gambler, they could have lost that game. But the Commanders have not played well since, and their offensive line is as big a sieve as there is in the National Football League. How many sacks the Eagles are going to get on Sunday against this mess of a Commanders offensive line?
Well, it seems that Washington kind of gets you every once in a while. That you last year they got you once. I think their opportunity to get you was the game they played a couple of weeks ago. I thought they had a good game plan and executed it. It's one thing to have a good game plan; it's another thing to actually execute it. And I thought Sam Howell had a really good game. To have another effort like that. Now, if you watched any of them play the Giants last week, you would say there's no way this team can step on. If they were terrible in the game against the Giants. So to answer the first part of the question, I would think Sam Howell might have a tough day at the office. That offensive line was a big problem against the Giants last week. I don't imagine that they tighten things up this week. And can they execute their game plan the way they did the first time these two teams played? That's asking a lot against this Philadelphia team. So I would think this one is good. They got you last year. I think their chance to get you was the first time. I would think this is more like when you played them the first time and when they sacked Wentz like 9 times last year.
Yeah.
Where it's just an ugly type of game. I think this Washington team, you got some dissension. They're sick of this crap down there. There's some talk now about Ron Rivera might be coming to the end of the line.
Yeah,
I think this one has the makings of because it also feels like, guys, the Eagles were kind of teetering after that Jets. Oh, they got problems. It's like when the Phillies lose a game. You got to move this guy. You got to change the lineup. You got to do this. You got to do that. Well, the Jets game, it was like, well, I got to do this. I got to do that. And then they go out and whip the Dolphins. I think the Eagles are trending like, you know what? We got business as usual, and the Commanders look like a team that.
You know what? We've seen the Eagles lose twice in the regular season with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and even the Super Bowl. Because if you think about the Super Bowl, it was the unforced error. But I think they were -3 against Washington last year and -4 against the Jets. As long as they don't do that, they're going to win the game. They as long as they protect the football somewhat, they're going to win the game.
Sacks allowed in the NFL this year. The last 3 teams, Bears 27 sacks in 6 or 7. That's a lot. Giants 37. Commanders 40.
Yeah, Sam Howell's on
40 times.
Sam Howell is on pace, if he lives, to break David Carr's record for most sacks in an NFL season. I believe he was sacked 76 times, which people forget. Not Derek, David Carr. David was really, really talented, but he went to Houston, and he got gun shy after that.
Yeah, bad team, bad time, bad offensive line in Washington. Could I would say the Eagles' defensive line right now salivating, the term of let them eat. Yeah, it's going to be a big old fest for the Eagles on Sunday for the defensive line. We didn't ask you at the top. Lean back. What kind of shirt you got on there, Gil?
I'm going straight.
Eagles. Oh, Eagles. Yeah, you got to move on. People got to turn the page. It's now everybody's got a football mentality anyway. Now they can worry about football. And they said a little bit of Sixers angst thrown in because of that mess. But everybody can overreact to football.
Yeah, I was running outside. I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. I just grabbed the first shirt on the top of the pile. I didn't have it in my mind of like, I got to make sure that people get to see a different one this week.
That's all right. We'll trust you to have something amusing T-shirt wise next week. Mikey, good stuff. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Mike.
All right,
that's Mike Gill's show. Listen to him. Sports Bash 2 to 6.
97.3 ESPN down the shore. Catch him this afternoon. Mike Gill here with us on Birds 365. All right, Mac and Mac coming back. We've got Chris Franklin joining us in hour number 2. So stay right here on Birds 365.
No, we're not breaking. Where's Zander? Zander. Well, we'll keep talking then. You and I, Jody, see what happens. But we didn't go to break. We'll figure that out. Technical difficulties, as they say.
All right, we'll see.
Here we go. Zander's back. Are we going to break, Zander? We can break. We can break. So we'll see you after the break. Jody McDonald, John McMullen, Mac and Mac, Birds 360.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to move to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
EAGLES, Eagles.
McDonald and McMullen, Mac and Mac guys here with you on Birds 365. Thank Gil for jumping in, Franklin to join in about 15 minutes from now. Did want to get your thoughts on this, Johnny. A phrase you coined last year. I'd never heard anybody use it before, so I give you complete and total credit for it. The mercenary market could be churning again. Yesterday, and Ndamukong Suh said he would like to join a team with a chance for a run at a Super Bowl, and that the Baltimore Ravens had already reached out to him. Didn't announce a signing or anything along those lines, but a guy who helped out. He wasn't a major mover, needle mover, but Ndamukong Suh helped the Eagles defensive line out at a time when they needed it. They had some injuries along the defensive line. He came in and stabilized things a little bit. Maybe doing it again this year. Wait till halfway through the season, cash a half a seasonal check. Don't have to go to camp. Just jump in late. I assume Ndamukong's in pretty good shape and he can get up to speed pretty quickly. But is there anyone else out there on the mercenary market, Johnny Mac, that we should be keeping our eye on who will be jumping?
Yeah, I thought
Howie
kind of created something, and Bradley Roby did the same thing. Really, probably had to start.
How about Julio?
Yeah, Julio did the same thing. Had to start probably a little bit earlier than they had hoped, but who knows? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a thing. You know, in the NBA, they have the buyout market, and now I think Howie kind of created it, and guys are, you know, it's got to be very unique players like Linval and Dominican last year. This year, Roby, former first round pick, Julio, obviously Hall of Fame level player. Those guys made a lot of money. They don't want to sit and go through training camp for the NFL veteran minimum. So you got to be in a certain stage of your career. But I think it's going to continue. And I think, you know, as more people start to age out and say, you don't want to pay me, because we're all talking about Kevin Byard, you know, fifth and sixth round, 2-time All-Pro, was worth a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, and a role player. That's what the NFL places a value on a 2-time All-Pro, because he's 30. And he's played a lot of games because he's durable. Think of that. If you're a player, you do your job and it's held against you. You know, if he didn't play as much, if he didn't have tread off the tire, maybe he'd be worth more. It's bizarre. It's bizarre the way people look at things in this league sometimes. But yeah, I think it's going to continue. I think last year was just the start of it. And Baltimore's a contender. Baltimore's a good team. And they're coming off a great week. And Lamar's playing really well for people not noticing. And they destroyed the Detroit Lions. I mean, destroyed them. And that's a pretty good team, Detroit. So, yeah, if they need help at defensive tackle, and Dominican proved he could still play last year. He's got something left in the tank.
And John, your point about age 30 being a dirty word in the NFL. Oh, 30, you can't pay him. He can't play with 30 years old. It is amazing what the sweet spot is, how small the sweet spot is in the National Football League for a player to make his maximum amount of money. Because you come out of college, you're either 21 or 22. You can't come out any earlier. Other sports, you might come right out of high school, say, be an NBA player by age 19. Same thing with baseball, not as much, more like 2021. But in the NFL, you're guaranteed that you can't get in till most players 22. Now, this particular last couple of years, we've had 23 and 24-year-old guys come in because of COVID. They decided to stay. How old is Reed Blankenship now?
Yeah, he's 25, I think.
25 going on 26 because he played extra years in college. So you signed that first contract, you're locked in. There's no negotiating on going as $10,000 here and there. Otherwise, your salary is locked in. So you got a 4-year deal if you're anything other than a first-round pick. If you're a first-round pick, you got a 5-year deal, which means you got to wait till you're 27 before you get your first shot at the second contract.
Yeah, Reed's 24, so don't want to dismiss them. I have you seen? I joked. Have you seen Notre Dame's quarterback, Jody, this year?
Yeah,
he looks like he's 35 years old. He's been playing forever. He's one of those transfer guys. He played at Wake Forest, so I don't know. This is his 6th year because of the COVID rules, as you mentioned. Yeah, he's 24. So if he gets drafted next year, and he's pretty good, I don't know what he is as an NFL prospect, but he's a really good college quarterback. So he's going to be 25 coming in. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
So if you're a 4th-round pick, 24 coming into the league, you got to be before you're 20. Oh, so you have 2 years before you get the 30 years. Oh, he's too old. We can't pay him. Treatment from the National Football League. So you got a 2-year period where you're in your prime earning years in the National Football League. Talk about trying to thread the needle. You have to be that perfect player.
Well, and I break him because he looks old. He looks like he's older than 25, and I forget his name. I'll have to look it up here as we speak. He looks older. He's got this big old man beard. And he sets records every week because he's played for 6 years. So, he's one of the highest, passing. He sets a new passing yardage record, it seems, every week. Sam Hartman is his name.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I'm sorry. I missed you saying it. So, yeah, he threw for 4,000 yards at Wake Forest, 3,700 yards. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
There's a bunch of those guys, the two guys out, and they're in the Heisman legitimacy category. Penix of Washington and Nix of Oregon.
Oh, yeah, Nick's transferred too
are
from
both
Auburn.
transfers who
Yeah.
are into their almost mid-20s at this point. And right now, Penix is the Heisman favorite with Caleb Williams.
Where did he
struggling.
transfer from? I didn't know he was.
Penix, Indiana.
Yeah. Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I should have known that.
He almost beat Ohio State one year. I think
Yeah.
he goes back to Justin Fields. I think he
Yeah.
almost beat Justin Fields one year. Maybe it was Stroud. But,
He played 4 years in Indiana, and this is his second year at Washington. It's crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy.
So they take advantage and they stay in, but then your window shrinks of your prime earning years in the NFL. If your general statement,
Well, Caleb Williams has to take a pay cut to go to the NFL. Evidently, he's got so much NIL money. He's talking about staying in college if the situation, he doesn't like the situation. Yeah, it's a different landscape. And by the way, I'm scared to death of that kid now after watching him play a couple times. I think he is overhyped. I think there's a lot of learning to do with him. A lot of talent, but a lot of learning to do.
yeah, I think he's good, but he's had a bad couple weeks. But here's the one thing I would say about him. I'd really love to see the NFL actually have him hanging. And it comes down to one team, well, maybe more than one, with the potential to trade up, get the number one draft pick. Don't let this guy dictate to you. We've seen it happen before. The Colts
John Elway
gave John Elway exactly what he wanted. The Chargers said, okay, Eli, we'll trade you to the Giants. If you want the kid, if you're trading up to get the kid, then hold the kid's feet to the fire. Say, go ahead, take your NIL money. Do you see what the contracts are these days? I don't care how much NIL money you're getting. Joe Burrow is getting $270 million. Jalen Hurts is getting $250. You got to get to that second contract.
Yeah, you got to start the clock. That's a good point.
So good luck taking that NIL money. Yeah, your rookie year, it might be equivalent to what you could get by staying in college football. Maybe even you're making a little bit more on the college end. But that's just one more year you got to wait before you get to that second contract when the floodgates open up and you get paid. So if I were a team that loved the kid and wanted the kid and traded up to get the kid, there's no way I'm balking and going, oh, really? He's going to stay in college. Oh, we're screwed. Draft him. Dare him to make that decision to stay in college for another year where he can have games like the ones he's had, like John McMullen saw and said, wait a minute, this is the next coming? Doesn't look like the next coming to me.
That's where I saw Sam Hartman. That's where I saw that game. Notre Dame, he looked bad, Jody. I'm not talking about Hartman. I'm talking about
He had a bad game. I think he's a stud.
And I don't think Notre Dame's very good, but obviously they're good to a certain extent, but I don't think they're one of the top teams in college football. Yeah, that scared me, that game. I admit it. And you shouldn't, and I'll be the first to admit, you shouldn't overreact to one game. Everybody has bad games, but he was really bad. Really bad.
He had a bad game. Absolutely. Yeah. I think he's a worthy number one overall pick in the draft. You know, I've been talking up Drake May for 2 years now. When people didn't know who Drake May was, replacing Ed Kratz's favorite, the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League down there in North Carolina, I saw him play a September game and say, holy mackerel, this guy looks like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He just, the ball just comes off. He's got a quick release. He throws it right on the money. He can throw on the run. I was very impressed.
Well, I was high on that. I admit when I'm wrong. I was super high on that kid from Clemson who transferred to Oregon.
DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah. You can say it. I'm not saying it.
I
was super high on him, and yeah, I got that one wrong.
And he's having a bounce back year. He transferred. He's another guy who's now 20-something playing quarterback for a Pac-10, Pac-12 that's going to disappear team.
Yeah.
But
And
he's
Spencer
actually having a nice
Rattler.
year.
I remember when Spencer Rattler, they were talking him up as the number 1 overall pick, and he's been in college for 8 more years, it seems.
Yeah, that's one I never got sucked in on. I always thought he was over. I thought he was a media creation, a social media creation. Didn't think he was that great a player. But you know who still likes him? Our buddy from the draft. Why can't I think of his name? We have
Cummings?
Yeah, Ian Cummings still likes him. Still
Does he?
has him like one of the 7 or 8 highest draftable quarterbacks this year.
Is he having a good year? I don't know.
Not really. No. And he should be like Sam Hartman, like Nix, like Penix, men playing against boys because of all his experience. He should be dominating. He's not. He's not.
Well, that's a tough conference. I will say that. South Carolina, SEC. So, yeah, you got to play some good teams.
Yeah, he was a hype machine and totally a hype machine. All right, did you get anything from the defense coordinator yesterday on Reed Blankenship and how close he is to return?
No, you get fired if you talk about injuries. If you're the coordinator, no, we'll get that from Nick. Nick laid out the week for you to Rob Monty. We had Rob on the show. We'll see if he's at practice today.
Do you expect
it's a walkthrough? It is a walkthrough today, so we'll get an estimation. And by the way, last week's estimation, Devontae Smith didn't practice on the walkthrough, and it was back on Thursday for the real practice. So you can't even get a gauge from that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if he's on the injury report as you know, estimated to be limited, I would say that's a really good sign. But we'll probably won't know for sure until Thursday. If he's not practicing on Thursday, that's not a good sign.
But walk to Wednesday for Johnny Mack and the Eagles today. Don't know if we'll learn anything, but the Commanders are coming up on Sunday. Eagles already have beaten them once, although it was a give and take game that could have gone the wrong way for the Birds. Little time to show out and show off down in the nation's capital. Chris Franklin from NJ.com due up to join us next. It is Mac, McMullen, and McDonald, a Wednesday edition of Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grosinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grosinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Mac, I'm for 365. We got our buddy Chris Franklin from NJ.com to jump in with us. And yeah, well, but it's a new location, Johnny Mac. We got no Trenton T in the back. We got no birds in the back. You up in the attic there, Franklin?
No, it's it's same office. I just tried to change the view a little bit, change the angle a little bit. I got to mix it up a little bit. Got to throw a better change up to some cool pictures.
It's too chilly in the morning.
Yeah,
it's going to be
40 some. No, 40 degrees.
75 in the afternoon though, so it's crazy. The weather. Not crazy football team though, and everybody's back in now. Chris, World Series is over. No more traffic for us. But I digress. Howie Roseman makes the big move. Your first thoughts on Kevin Byard coming back to Philadelphia?
You know, I heard they were looking at something when it came to defensive back. and especially the way they came to safety. I didn't think it'll be. I heard Byers' name floated. I'm like, that can't happen. And then when you see how he pulled that one off, I'm like, at this point, you can't be surprised anymore with the way he's able to just pull deals off like that. To give up a fifth, a sixth, and Edmonds is completely worth it and shocking. I think this goes back when you look at the planning and the position he continues to put this team in able to do that when it comes to signing the right guys so he can get the comp picks, when it comes to notifying that there's an area of need and addressing it immediately instead of fooling around waiting it and saying, oh, we'll wait for a team to come to us, i.e. Jerry Jones. Yeah, I think it comes to, I think you look at that and you're like, all right, this is a good deal overall and it fits addressing needs, and all of a sudden that defense is formidable again.
Heard Sean Desai yesterday say he expects no issues whatsoever with Byard, that he's a veteran, he's a smart player, he's a leader, he's going to step right in and be able to play this week. As in 100% of the snaps at safety, because they've gone down that road because of injuries and other issues. The guys they play at safety, that has not been a position that they have moved guys in and out of. Linebacker has become a situational substitution position, but not safety. You think Byard's going to just jump right in 5 days after a deal and be good to go?
I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. I just think I think it might be a sign that maybe Reed's coming back. And it's not as that one, because we see his team when it comes to like throwing some people in there. They've taken some time. They have like certain packages. They'll ramp them up to the point where that one too. But I don't think he could play every single snap like say like when Edmonds did it or when Reed when he was healthy. I think it's gonna be one of those things where you say, hey, you know what, we'll give you this little chunk of the playbook right now, like a lot of the base stuff, so that way he gets comfortable with that, familiar with that, and he can just play loose instead of thinking that. I mean, it does help that he's played and he's seen time with different systems beforehand, but I don't think it's going to be a full-fledged 67, 70 snap type of deal with him.
A little bit different, though, in this from the standpoint that guys like Julio Jones or Bradley Roby weren't playing, weren't in camp, weren't with teams, so they need a ramp-up period. Josiah Scott was injured in Pittsburgh, and let's be honest, Josiah did a nice job for him, but he's not Kevin Byard. This guy's an all-pro, and he's been playing. So it's only about learning the defense. Otherwise, he can play. He can go the whole game. You just throw him out there and say, hey, learn on the job. I mean, Terrell Edmonds was playing the whole game. That's your job. Go do it.
If it normally I would say yeah, if it was depending on an opponent, but with McLaurin the way this team, he seems to burn this team every single time. Nah, not this week on that one too. I mean, you look at Commanders, they have a lot of good they have a lot of good receivers in there, and I want to go like, hey, welcome to Philadelphia, try to cover these guys. Oh, if you get hurt, well, we're still confident.
Isn't that kind of on their too highly paid outside corners to be able to cover Terry McLaurin? You're going to drop that on the new safety's lap if McLaurin has a big game. Oh, you asked too much of Kevin Byard week one. They're all pro, been here for years, cornerbacks to shut down McLaurin.
Hey, as much as they use cover 3 and cover 4, it seems like, and they'll match up and try to, Washington will try to, they'll look at that film and say, we got a chance, let's go deep lads, like the last time. I think it's gonna be one of those things where they may test them early, and a lot of that stuff is based off communication and matchup. So if he's not really up to very quickly, up to knowing the communication of when to switch off of somebody and when to cover and everything, that could open up a lot of holes if he's out there for a long time and not really truly well versed in that.
Hey, did you get locked in on Sunday?
You know what? I didn't get. Excuse me. I wasn't with you guys that got locked in. I was able to get out of the stadium, but when it came to the parking lot,
couldn't get in.
I tell you, that walk around from the media entrance to Xfinity back one, I've never smelled some of those smells. It was awful from the makeshift porta potties to some people had a good time, and it was on the ground. Yeah, that was give those guys who clean up the parking lot raises, because it was brutal. Oh my gosh!
But some people love the primetime games.
Yeah,
like time to do that much more before kickoff can make life more difficult.
We had a long night. That's why I bring it up. So I didn't get to watch the replay of the game until yesterday, basically. So, Jody brought up an interesting point about the linebackers in the rotation. You know what, Chris? Nakobe did not play well against Miami. He's one of the few guys who didn't play well. Nicholas Morrow keeps playing well. At what point do you say, you know what? We got time with Nakobe. If Nicholas keeps playing like this, why is he getting the lesser end of the stick?
I think you're looking at the future. They're going to try to force him in there and try to make it work. I mean, when they use a lot of motions, like Nakobe was really just following around, he's following the eyes, and he got he got that off of that eye candy that Miami was trying to show, and it didn't really work out well. I think that way too. He just kept looking around that way. And Morrow surprised me with how well he's played overall when he's been inserted this season. But I think unless it's like a playoff game and they need to make a change right away, they're going to give Nakobe every single shot they can and put him on the field and do that. Even I don't think it's a foot thing that's lingering anymore. I think it was just that he got caught up looking at all this stuff that was going around, and I think he could have done a better job tackling some points as well too.
Yeah, last week 61-39 was the split between those two guys. Percentage of snaps played. Could that cut closer to 50-50? It might. If Morrow continues to play better, then if we've seen one thing about the Philadelphia Eagles, they're all in this year. They're not. If they were worried about next year, they wouldn't have given up on a 5 and a 6 and an Edmonds who's younger for a 30-year-old Kevin Byard. They're in to win the Super Bowl this year, and if their coaches and their tape work says tomorrow's playing better, I don't think they just force feed Nakobe Dean because he was a 3rd-round draft pick. Do you?
If it happens for 3 straight weeks, then maybe you look at if you have 2. So excuse me, I forgot about that. If it happens for 2 straight games, maybe you revisit it because that'll be a 3rd straight one, and then you revisit putting it more 50-50. But I think right now they're going to give them every shot, and it's going to be one of those things where, I think it's stats. I don't think they'll force it right away. It won't be like something you think you see next week against Commanders. You go, wow, Morrow's played the 60 snaps, and then Dean's played 30. I think it'll be one of those things where they may look at it in the bye week if it continues for like another couple of weeks.
Is Howie done? And not only from the perspective of bringing people in, because he's got no, he doesn't have a lot of draft capital left that he can use. He's going to get compensatory picks, but can't use those yet in 2024. But he can send some people out. He can make Jody McDonald happy if he can trade Derek Barnett. Is he done? Is he done?
Kayvon Wallace to the practice squad.
Approaching.
Kayvon Wallace to the practice squad. Come on.
Kayvon. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens today. They lost Brett.
Especially that one too. But I look at if anything, and I think anything's going to happen after the trade deadline. That's problem, and they're trying to move some stuff. But I think the players they may look. Maybe it's a Quez, maybe it's maybe it's Barnett or something. But I think a lot of times when they have, I don't say Barnett so much, but with that, they're going to have a impending roster crunch coming when they get all these guys back healthy.
Yeah.
And they'll try dangle. I think the other team, it's hard not to see like unless it's somebody that is a big name was shocking us, like what the heck is going on? I think a lot of teams know like the expendable players. I think we all know most of the guys that who aren't going to play a lot, and they try to get like a conditional 6th or 7th. But I don't see that. I think a lot of those moves going to happen after trade deadline. We're just see the release and like, all right, they try to sneak them back on the practice squad, and that doesn't work because somebody's going to pick them up.
Yeah.
Quez might be the only guy in the team who's got less value than Barnett on the trade market right now because he's hurt. If he wasn't hurt, it'd be about the same. But because Quez is hurt, nobody's picking up the phone. Jerry expects Howie to call him. So I can tell him.
Hey, Howie will call. Howie's got.
He'll call to everybody.
He'll call Jerry. He'll take advantage.
Yeah, John pointed out earlier that Gallup and Cooks are not doing what they're supposed to do, but he can replace them. But you got to live with those safeties who are playing like crap because you paid them. Yeah, no, Quez does not move the Cowboys' needle or anybody else's needle at this time. They almost lost to the Commanders earlier this season. You were down there for the game. If the coach had some nerve and had gone for it on a 2-point conversion, Eagles could be sitting here at 5-2 rather than 6-1. How big a win was that for the Eagles? How badly did they need that win? Sometimes you don't know it at the moment, but in 2029, you go, damn. That was a huge win that the Eagles actually got. How much of an effect has it had going forward, the fact that the Eagles won that game, even though they could very well have lost it?
Yeah, especially being that you had to go to overtime. It's bad enough you had to go into overtime with the Commanders, but the fact that if you lost an overtime game, they had to come back and try to fight back. I think that would have been a tough back-to-back way. I think it could have been a domino effect. And the way they were able to stave them off and actually score that field goal to win the game, I think it's going to be huge. And add to the fact it's a division game, add to the fact it's a conference game. When you look at it comes down to tiebreakers, and we're looking like when you look right now at that one, it's a tight race for that conference. And the fact that the 49ers lost to the Vikings, that helped out a lot too. So you see each of these these games like this one where it's like one off and everything else. That's why the Jets one hurts me. The Jets one hurts a lot, way more than the other one, because they should have won. As a game they should have won, and B, just think about where they're going to do when it comes down to the season if they're tied with, like, say, the 49ers or the Lions. It's hurt, but overall, I think they needed to win that game, especially since it went to overtime. And it's not. We could be talking about a whole different scenario right now. Like, is this team going to make the playoffs right now? I think it'd be that type of thinking. They would, but it'd be that type of mentality.
It's probably a little bit early to talk about playoff seeding, but boy, it was a good week for the Eagles. They put the Dolphins in their place. Nick Sirianni happy that everyone shuts up about Mike McDaniel for a week. And then the Lions get absolutely boat raced by the Baltimore Ravens, and the 49ers, as you mentioned, lose to Minnesota on Monday night. That's a great week for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, listen, and I don't know how true this is. I just saw it in passing, but it said that any team that loses to Kirk Cousins hasn't gone to a Super Bowl in his career.
Poor Kirk. Man. They got all this. I feel bad for that guy. I feel like did anybody watch him play on Monday night? He's a damn good. Colin Thompson, our buddy, former NFL tight end, just tells me how good he is all the time. And I watched Patrick Mahomes on that Netflix show, just rave about him. Troy Aikman on Monday night. Like, what is the disconnect? I mean, these guys aren't making it up. This guy can play. If you want to criticize him for something, I would say he's also a business Hall of Famer, and he's made every single penny that he could possibly wring out of Washington and Minnesota. And that hasn't enabled those teams to build up around him to where they could be a contender. I blame him for that. But, man, he can play. And why does everybody think he can't play?
The ill-timed interceptions and in primetime games, not stepping up when it matters the most. Kirk Cousins is the type of quarterback that should have been at least played at least one Super Bowl by now. At least one.
I even think, and Jody's not going to agree with me because he's a big Brock Purdy guy, but because Kyle Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins, if he got to San Francisco, I think he'd pull the Matthew Stafford. I think he'd win the Super Bowl, and people go, I really do.
I agree with that too, because you look at that, especially with that system, it's all timing, and it's all a lot of timing routes, and it's a lot of trusting guys in game managing. And I think Kirk Cousins gave you that and a little bit more too, especially give you a couple more deep threats too. So if he ever found his way to switch over to the 49ers or to move over to the 49ers at some point in his career, like before I think you really start to see a downfall in that one too. They'd be actually scary. Like you scarier, like they're you just give them the NFC if you ever went over that way.
Speaking of Matthew Stafford, what's the chance Howie Roseman trades for him? Since Howie can do basically anything and wave his magic wand, and I look at the Eagles right now, they upgrade. Well, where's one place they could actually get better? Backup quarterback.
God.
How about Matthew Stafford
greedy.
for Marcus
That's
Mariota?
greedy.
Come on, Howie, get on the phone, big guy.
That's
Yeah,
greedy.
a better chance of Adam Malik Cunningham than to Matthew Stafford in that one. That ain't happening whatsoever. Nah. I mean, Carson Wentz will probably come back before they get Matthew Stafford as a backup quarterback on that one. But
Howie makes miracles happen.
Yeah.
Let's see him get Matthew Stafford.
By the
and
way,
Howie under
Will
the cap.
Levis is going to start for Tennessee, evidently. So Rand Carthon is trying to expedite his exit from Tennessee.
Coach said both Levis and Willis will play this week.
No, but I
He's
saw
rotating
he's starting.
quarterback.
Well, Levis is going to start. Yeah, I don't disagree. He'll probably be benched at some point, Joey. So you'll probably.
They're already on record as saying both were going to play, so he's not going to be benched because they're going in with a tight play. We're going to use dueling quarterbacks.
Maybe
the NFL, right? Yeah,
maybe Will can play, but yeah, I don't know. Why do some of these general managers just give gifts to Howie Roseman? Does he have some kind of Illuminati picture? Is he blackmailing people? I mean, what is going on with the rest of the GMs in this league?
I don't know. Maybe he's like the Frank Underwood of from House of Cards, like in that one too. Like I know what I'm going to do this way. He just has. You know what? I think it may go back to the time when before he reassumed power, he just sat and plotted this plan and just found all this stuff and just you see it continually go over that. But I think a lot of times, just being a good convincer, like, no, this is going to work out for you. Look at everything that happened there. Like how they have not. I understand GMs have to talk to each other to try to see like what deals are done. But the fact that you see some of these things and you've seen how these trades have worked out for the Eagles and not for the other team so much, like this. Between Mickey Loomis, Crayon, all that stuff, like it's like, nah, I'll see you at the league meetings and I'll talk to you then, and just to see where we're vote for. Other than that, nah, I can't. Nah, this is bad. So I think it's convincing.
Yeah, I mean, poor John Robinson lost his job over AJ Brown, even though it was probably more Amy Adams Strunk than John Robinson, but. And now, Rand Carthon, he's going to have a little bit of rope because he's new, but I don't know, Chris. I don't know.
Have somebody with a big contract that was looking to get out. Howie will call him and try to get him in there and make it work too within the cap.
Yeah.
All right. I know that the Eagles have some moving parts this week with injuries that we got to find out about, Roby and Blankenship, but time for a hypothetical for Chris Franklin. Let's say they're healthy, that Blankenship's good to go, and Roby's good to come back, and they don't have to go with an extra body because they don't want to put Byard in for all 100%. And they have some roster flexibility this week. Could this be the Rashad Penny week?
No.
Is Rashad Penny actually active for Sunday's game against the Redskins?
No, I think the only
Excuse me.
It's going to be a long while. I think the only time we're going to see Rashad Penny week is week 17, if they know where they're going to be and thing wise. And that's one of the signings to me. And just looking back, like, what the heck happened? Like, if he really truly lost a step, why is he still on the roster? You don't really have. I don't foresee it being like one thing.
Trey Sermon stuck around all last year, despite the fact the coach said he killed it in practice on a weekly basis. So
I think they saw some
around
promise
all year too.
I think they saw some promise, and I was like, you know what? We don't want somebody else to get them. Maybe that's one of them.
I think if they had that loser Tennessee mentality, Trey Sermon would still be here. But I think they're waiting, as Jody waits for the Rashad Penny week. The Rashad Penny week is when DeAndre Swift or Kenny Gainwell sprain an ankle. Then you'll see Rashad Penny. And I think they're hopeful, not necessarily that, he's lost a step. He might have, but they want him as depth because they're a Super Bowl contender. Or if they were a loser looking for 5th round and 6th round picks like Tennessee, then Trey Sermon would be here. Oh, we have the young guy, just stick him there, and he's got some upside. Blah blah blah.
Which, by the way, did Trey Sermon ever sign with anybody's practice squad?
Yeah, he was on Indianapolis. I don't know.
In the Indies, yeah, I think he was on the Indies in that one. But even then, I think when Penny goes out, like if one of those like Gainwell Smith goes out, Penny's the third guy still. He's barely got touches. Because remember the last time he was up, he barely saw the field. So yeah, they have more confidence in Boston Scott as opposed to Penny. So yeah, he'd be there for special
Trey
teams
is still with Shane Steichen in Indianapolis.
He's on their practice squad.
Yeah. So and by the way, Jonathan Taylor's back, so I don't like his chances. And that other kid was running well, actually. Zach Moss is
Moss.
Yeah, he was having a good year before Taylor came back. So they're pretty good in the backfield, I would say.
Yeah, Shane loved him last year. He thought really high of him, and it makes sense that he went out that way too. But he talk about a career that just went really. You felt like, wow, he had a lot of promise with the 49ers. All of a sudden, like, well, he's bouncing around.
It scared me because the 49ers drafted him in the 3rd round, pretty high pick, and they run the ball well, and they gave up on him quickly. I said that when he came in here. I probably said it to you, Chris. That concerned me because if you can't run in San Francisco, they got Jeff Wilson having 100-yard games back in the day. That concerned me a little bit, but the Eagles seem to like him. Numbers game.
Yeah. Got to worry about that L2 and L3 on the special teams kickoff unit.
Yeah.
You got to be but other than that, yeah, it also shows you how much talent comes in each year out at the running back position. No wonder why these guys want to get these bigger contracts, because all of a sudden you get flushed out so quickly. Why? Like, I'd be surprised. Seriously, we'll be shocked. Like 2 years from now, like, wow, remember Trey Sermon when he was in here and they had like 5 running backs competing for 4 spots on his team? Yeah, it's
by the way, some inside baseball for the fans out there. Were you there the day that Fletcher ripped down the special teams depth chart in the locker room?
Yeah, I heard about it. I wasn't there.
He figured it out. We were getting some information we weren't supposed to be getting from the special teams. Because you said L2 and L. It reminded me.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. And honestly, I'm shocked it was up there for that long. I thought after week 1
it was up there. That's where I first learned Jalen Carter wasn't playing the week.
It was it's one of those things where it's like, okay, and then you run blocking like, okay, block this person so they don't see, walk by. Oh, okay, it's cool.
All right, so when you guys get in there today, you're not going to be able to see if Jalen Hurts has any listed injury on a depth chart somewhere that's not
Jalen. Well, Jalen wouldn't be on the special teams depth chart, so it's not going to help us. But Jalen Carter,
who was on the depth chart, special teams depth chart that you had information on?
Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter.
Oh yeah. A lot of other position players. Yeah.
What special does he play?
He was like the 3rd team field goal protection. He doesn't play on anything, but he was like the 3rd team field goal, and he was in red, which means
Jordan Davis is on there. Jordan Davis is on there too, because he's everybody's on there.
Everybody but Jalen is on the
so they don't list on the special teams the go for 2 team. Is that not on there? They make that up as they go along. Okay.
Unless that's at the back of a playbook somewhere where Jalen's like, they sneak him on there to be like the 6th-string holder or something like that, and try to flush it around or Mario, something like that. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'll check out Holder if they put it back up. Holder. Yeah.
That's complete.
I was only half kidding about the Jalen thing. We know we're not going to get anything from the coaches today. John always laughs at me when I ask, do you think you'll get a hit? Because come on, stop it, Jody. He could get fired if he says anything. So it's going to be on you guys to judge Jalen and the way he walks today. Not runs, walks, because it's a walkthrough. I could absolutely see it the other night. I heard Elliott on WIP yesterday say, I couldn't see that he would. There was one play, was second. I think he got a first down on a play. I think it was 3rd and 4, and he ran out of bounds, but he got 5, so he got the first down. You could just tell he wasn't running like Jalen Hurts. There's something up there. Brace, no brace, whatever else. I could tell with my naked eye that he wasn't running like he usually was, like he usually does. You going to be able to see anything, Chris Franklin, before the game?
We don't get
The only thing we're going to see, the only thing we're going to see is going down when he walks down the ramp from the back to go talk to on the dais. Other than that, that's the only time we're going to see it. Walkthroughs are closed for us, so we won't see on that one. Tomorrow's going to be the first day.
Thursday we'll see.
And
I got to tell you,
tomorrow. Do you think you'll be able to tell something?
Not so much, because if anything, they're gonna. I don't think if they do the diving or whatever, and the ball security won't see that. When you look at the drops and everything that he moves around, when it's a slow controlled thing, it's nothing wrong with that. And when it comes to the full speed stuff, it's close to us by the time they really go into it. So it's going to be one of the things where you really won't truly see until.
Remember last year when he hurt his shoulder, Chris, and they had a practice at Lincoln Financial Field, and they basically escorted us over to take pictures of Jalen Hurts. Normally we can't go down past the goalpost, and they said, "Oh no, go ahead." They wanted the video out there, like he was going to try to play. That's when you can learn something from the Eagles, when they're being too accommodating. That means they're trying to pull something over someone's eyes, and sure enough, he did not play. But that was his shoulder, and you could also get a quick look that they wouldn't even hit him, if you remember, with any of the pads or the boxing gloves during the ball security drills. So that gave
you could tell. Yep, you could tell, especially like when Devontae was having had issues like a couple last year, or whatever. When he went through the line, stuff like that. You could tell when they do that drill, you can glean some stuff off of it. Where it's like, oh, they're not hitting him up high, or he's sitting off to the side on this one. Okay,
yeah.
All right, let me wrap with this, Chris Franklin, and check him out at NJ.com. Chris does an outstanding job covering the Eagles day in and day out. Percentage chance the Eagles lose Sunday?
33.
33. Wow.
2/3. I think 2/3 of the chance they win, only because it's something about this team, and part of me thinks that I think they're going to be up for. Commanders will be up for his game, basically a little bit based off. I think Jonathan Allen's a little frustrated, and I think that they're going to try to use it as a rallying cry. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. The Commanders seem to have this thing where it's even if when they're at FedEx, I know the Eagles have won there a lot recently, but I just look at it as one of those things where I think they still win, but it's not going to be as comfortable as we normally are used to, because the Commanders team really gets up for the Eagles.
Wow,
they really truly do. I think this might be the one where Rivera might really. I think he's going after here in a year anyway. But this might be the rallying cry for Rivera.
I'd go about 20%, and one of the reasons I'm lower than you is, even if they play well and have a chance to win the game, Ron Rivera is going to lay up and give it back to the Eagles.
Then let me go this number instead. Under over 7.5 sacks by the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday.
Ooh, that's a big number.
I'll go a tad under and say 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'll always go under with that number because it's so big, but they got 9 last year against Carson Wentz. But no, you know why? Because teams are so cognizant.
7.5.
Every team this year basically has been so focused on getting the football out against the Eagles.
How's that work for 40 sack Sam Howell?
Yeah, but that's my point. They're not worried about it against other teams as much, and he holds on to the football. Everybody's been so aware that it's got to come out this week against the Eagles because they know what they're feeling.
They got 4 last week against Tua. Who gets rid of it faster than anybody else in the league?
What
are they going to do against Sam Howell? Hold it till they hit you, Sam.
I don't know if
they would have gotten 8 if Tua held on to the football. That's what I'm saying. If it's 4, it should be 8. Yeah.
Right.
If,
So,
if they have a second half sack number, go for the over.
It'll be 8
Go
because
for it.
he doesn't get rid of the football the same way Tua does. All right, Chris Franklin, always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for getting up. Thanks for rearranging the shot for us. Appreciate that. You are a creative one. Thank you very much for that. We'll talk to you again next week, brother.
Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, guys. Have a good one now.
Chris Franklin, NJ.com, here with us on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout. Come back, put a bow on the show, get you ready for the Philly Sports Power Hour.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grosinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grosinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to move to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
EAGLEX, Eagles.
Mac and Mac here with you on Birds 365. Speaking of Mac and Mac, this is for my other Mac bud, Glenn Mac now. Hassan Reddick, not one, not two, 3 sacks this week.
Ooh.
Big week for Hassan Reddick. And Mac now's got a bet with Sealski on how many sacks that will be gotten. Glenn's got all the Georgia guys. That includes Nolan Smith, who got one for him this past week. Way to go, Nolan!
He was unblocked, but hey, man, get your first. That's a good deal for Nolan.
Exactly right. So I'm thinking maybe 2 for the Georgia guys, maybe 1, 3 for Hassan. Maybe Sealski catches up by 1, but yeah. I'm going over 7.5 sacks.
How many did they get in the first game? Everything runs together with me.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I'm not remembering.
I'm going to look it up real quick before we leave.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like I said, he's on pace, Sam Howell, to set the record if he stays healthy. Eagles got.
Nick Morrow game.
Yeah, Nick Morrow got 3.
Nick Morrow game.
Yeah. Morrow got 3. Josh got 1. Hassan got 1. 5 total.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
I like
Nichols
that
got
number.
3.
I'm going 5. I'm going under. 5
I
is a
think
good
it will
number.
be spread out among.
But yeah, Nick's
West.
not getting 3, but 5 again total.
I'm going with 8, which we've got plenty of to talk about tomorrow and Thursday. Chris Russell, buddy of ours from the Washington Commanders radio network. He's been on with us previously. He's going to jump in tomorrow, talk about the matchup between Washington and Philadelphia. Bill Colarulo will talk about that and the unfortunate end of the Philly season. He's coming up next on the Philly Sports Power Hour. You back with me again tomorrow, McMullen?
You know it. Day to day walkthrough. You never know what happens.
You never know. John will attempt to ferret out as much.
I
as
am estimated as a full go for Thursday.
Full go for us. Full go for the Eagles. We'll be back here with you on Birds 365 and 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.